guys, and welcome to another episode of Piano and Keyboard Artist, the channel where we discuss everything related to keyboarded musical instruments, synthesizers, pianos and artist development with me, Vaughan George. And if you're a regular subscriber, you'll know that I post videos every Sunday and Wednesday. So today is, I guess, a bonus video. So some of you might go, woohoo, bonus video, and others might be going, oh God, not him again. But anyway, the reason for shooting this quick video is I had a session booked in this morning with a singer. She's cancelled due to personal reasons, and so I had a bit of time. So I figured, what can I do? And the obvious answer to that was shoot another video, because we've got so many titles and subjects that are building up based on your feedback from the previous videos. And I figured what I want to speak to today is a response video to a video I posted several weeks ago, which is this one. And that video really, as I say, when I spoke about it, I was really overwhelmed by the amount of interest it had. I mean, I always knew that, you know, it was quite a big subject, but I had no idea that, you know, that I'd potentially opened Pandora's box on a big subject. So this video is a kind of an elaboration on that video, but it's more a response to what you guys have said and your feedback, and also what I've learned from the feedback I've received from you guys. So let's jump into that. So before we go any further, guys, I must emphasize my position on this all. You know, as I say, I'm going to post a link in the description below to that video. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. And then this video will make more sense to you. It's interesting because I think most people kind of agreed with what I was saying. For the record, I've never said Depeche Mode are a crap band now that Alan's left. I was just highlighting the fact that their sound has definitely changed since he's left, you know, for the good or for the bad. And I'm also aware of the fact that because I've been a Depeche Mode fan for many years, the early 80s stuff was a bit before my time. I was more sort of from the 90s onwards, and then of course I got into the early 80s stuff as I'm a fan now. So it's a little bit like, how can I explain this? You know, when you ask someone, who's your favorite James Bond? Well, a lot of people will say Sean Connery's their favorite James Bond, but very often most people's favorite James Bond is the James Bond they grew up with. To me, my James Bond was Roger Moore, because that was kind of the James Bond when I was a young child. And as the James Bonds, as the years go by, there are different James Bonds for different, you know, generations. I think the point I'm trying to illustrate there, to make a comparison with James Bond, is if you've been around, as I say, I've been around Depeche Mode sort of from the sort of early 90s, but I do embrace all the early stuff as well. But if you were around from the sort of very early start with Depeche Mode from the beginning, if you're one of those people, then you're probably like me. You tend to be biased, because, you know, we're always kind of biased to the songs that we heard when we were teenagers. And also, you know, as you get older, things sometimes lose that impact and that romantic, because, as I say, if I listen to Enjoy the Silence now, I can remember where I was at the age and the time. And whereas when I listen to their newer music now, it just doesn't spark a reaction to me. And the question I've asked is, and through reflection, I'm aware of the fact that as you get older, you know, things are not that amazing as you get older, because you see things through a more logical approach. What's interesting is a lot of younger fans have reached out to me through this channel, and I was talking to a girl the other day. She reached out to me. She said she's from Russia and she's 19 years old, and she said, you're absolutely right. She said the music nowadays is crap, and she wishes she was born earlier because she loves Depeche Mode and she's embraced it. And then I had to ask her, I said, I said, look, that's interesting. Could you tell me which albums do you like the most? Because she seemed big on them. She came back and she said the older stuff is better. The point I'm trying to illustrate here is you know, there was the Alan Wilder period. He left, and I don't think it's gotten worse. I just think Alan Wilder had a sound that he brought to it, which was a sound that I personally preferred. But as I've said, guys, what I love about Depeche Mode is their desire to always push the envelope, do something different. As you guys know, I'm busy, soon going to be releasing a series where I go through every single Depeche Mode album in detail, you know, giving a rundown on the songs, talking about the production, and I'm also going to be interviewing Brian Griffin about the photography of the album covers. That is coming soon. But as a result, I've been listening to a lot of their albums again, and I was listening to Exciter the other day, and I know my previous videos have been quite critical about Exciter, but now, you know, listening to it with what I know now, I can actually see the beauty in it. And, you know, I would have actually said a few years ago that Exciter was a bad album. That's how, you know, opinionated and biased I was. But if I listen to it now, I can hear, well, no, it's not a bad album. It's just a different approach. And this is what I respect about Depeche Mode, is always taking that different approach. As I said, I used the example last time, Oasis, for instance. I mean, Oasis are a great rock band, but all their albums sounded the same, and that's not a bad thing. There are bands that kind of repeat the formula because they know that's what people want. In Depeche Mode, you've got to give them kudos and respect for kind of sticking their neck out and going, okay, our fans might not like this, but hopefully they will, but we're going to try a different approach. And I've got so much respect to them for doing that. So guys, my position, as I say, I'm not campaigning, bring Alan Wilder back to Depeche Mode, bring Alan Wilder back to Depeche Mode. Although a lot of you are. I think that would be a very difficult thing to do. I think a few suggestions I've got from you guys, which were good suggestions, were, how about we get Alan Wilder to produce the new Depeche Mode album? And I think that would probably suit Depeche Mode, and that would suit Alan Wilder as well, I think. You know, I mentioned in one of the previous videos, I have a dream, and I said, oh, it would be lovely if Alan Wilder comes back to Depeche Mode and joins them for another tour. You know, I said it would probably take 5 years to fulfill the demand. You know, they'd fill up stadiums. But the reality of that is, guys, Depeche Mode could not turn around to Christian and Peter and say, all right, guys, Alan's back, piss off. They couldn't do that, you know. Peter and Christian are part of the band now, probably as much as, and probably more than Alan was, because, you know, they've been there, they've been in Depeche Mode almost twice as long as what Alan was, which is crazy how time flies. So I'm not bashing on about bring Alan back. That's not what I'm saying. Is all I point out in these discussions is, and they are indeed fascinating topics for discussion, is that the sound of Depeche Mode did change after Alan left. And having said that, guys, if Alan had still been there, the sound would probably change as well. And then we'd probably, because their sound always did change. So if Alan was still in Depeche Mode, it would probably, we'd probably be moaning about something else. You know what we like? We always want to. We like to moan as people. Humans just like to moan. Okay, so digging into some of those comments, as I say, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on that video, and I was so taken by surprise with the response. I've made a few notes here. Obviously, I can't read every comment, but I'm just going to kind of give you the gist of sort of the predominant main ideas which kind of seem to dominate. I could really put the comments and the people in their feelings into 4 different camps, and I call those Camp A, B, C, and D. And Camp A are, and I would be in Camp A as well. Camp A to me are the people who are missing Alan. Yeah, they miss Alan, and it's like, oh, it's more nostalgia. So, but they still like the band, like me, as I say, miss Alan, but I still like Depeche Mode. It's still one of the only bands where I will actually pre-order the album before it comes out, and I will buy it regardless of listening to it first, because I'm just that hardcore. I emphasize I do love Depeche Mode. Hence the reason we have so many Depeche Mode videos on this channel. Then there is Camp B, and Camp B are the people, these are the more hardcore Alan fans. These are the people who have gone, no, since Alan left, we don't listen to Depeche Mode. And the people in this Camp B, they're the ones who kind of don't recognize anything after Songs of Faith and Devotion, and they're just like, no, Alan left, end of the band. And those are the most staunch. Then we've got the people in Camp C, and these are the people who are like, kind of like, I think these are the people, they kind of saying what Martin always says. Martin's like, oh, get over it, stop whinging. And they're like, oh, stop the whinging kind of thing. And people have even had a go at me and gone, stop whinging. And I say, I'm not whinging, I'm just trying to create a discussion here. And we are creating one hell of a discussion here. So the people in Camp C are going, just get over it. Get over it. Then there is Camp D, and these are the rarest, and of course all your opinions are valid. I mean, there's no wrong opinions here, guys. But the people in Camp D are saying Depeche Mode is better without Alan Wilder. Now, I would have to strongly disagree with you there. I'm not saying it's worse without Alan Wilder, and I'm not being diplomatic, guys. As I said, after listening to some of their more recent albums the other day, I can just tell you off the bat that Ultra, to me, has really gone up in my estimations. I always rated it really highly, but as I say, listening to them recently as I'm doing my preparation for the album reviews, I don't know, especially like even Exciter, which I would have probably not rated really highly, there is a beauty in it. It's one of the albums that actually has some color to it, because all the other albums are kind of like quite dark, and Exciter's got kind of like a, I don't know, it has colors to it, metaphorically speaking. Unfortunately, there's also been quite a lot of what I call Fletch bashing, and guys, you know, I'll never say anything bad about Fletch. I know we like to joke about it, and as I say, God, Fletch has become a legend on this channel. I've even dedicated a separate series on this channel, which is the FLECTH Files. If you saw the first episode that came out a week ago, and you know, we're going to carry on with that. So it's just a bit of tongue-in-cheek fun. I mean, if you guys saw that video, I'll click the link below to watch it. It's very silly. It's just my brand of, you know, it's that childish kind of childish silly humor. You know, it's kind of escapism, and you know, it's an ode to Fletch. We love Fletch, and there are people actually who are quite passionate about it, saying Fletch should have gone. Yeah, you know, guys, it's, you know, how can you choose? I understand that Fletcher's contribution to the band musically probably was not that great, but as I said on this previous video of mine, What Does Fletch Do? He does have other, you know, interests and involvement behind the scenes that I think people don't appreciate. I think most people tend to judge him what he's doing on stage, and you know, as I explained on that video as well, you know, due to the nature of their music, it's not always possible for everyone to be doing something. Another interesting question that was asked was, could Dave have not done more? Because judging by the feedback I've got from you guys, and certainly some of the posts that have been sent to me that I should read, it does appear that Dave and Alan were very close. You know, out of all the band members, I know Martin and Fletcher were always very close, and then of course there was, you know, these days Dave and Martin seem to be quite close. But I do get the feeling, and from what you guys pointed out, that the biggest kind of clash in the band was probably between Fletch and Wilder, and I think this was Wilder sort of feeling a bit like, and this also comes back to their splits, because I also asked, I don't know what the breakdown was in the incomes and stuff, and that's no one's business really but theirs. But some of you said it was a 25% split, you know, 25%, so the four members 25, 25, 25, 25, which I'm not sure about that, guys. I do know that Martin these days, and one of you sent me an article where apparently Martin has made so much money that there's enough money to support the next 4 generations of his family. And of course, I did not see the actual publication where that came from, so I cannot say that that is true, but I've got no reason to see why one of my subscribers would make that up and lie to me. So of course, if that was the case, I think Alan would probably get to a point like, hang on, yeah, you know, I'm in the studio while you guys are going out getting drunk, and you know, I'm really busting my balls here, and I'm getting as much as this guy who plays with one finger and claps all the time. I mean, I would feel that way, so understandably. As legend has, in 1st of June 1995, Alan Wilder picks up the phone, or he sends the letter, and apparently Dave said in a documentary, Alan picked up the phone and phoned Dave and said, look, I'm quitting the band. And Dave said, he was like, yeah, whatever, man. I've got no doubt that Dave was in a bad state those days, you know, and it was due to his drugs and all that. I've got no doubt that if Dave was sober as he is today, it would have been a different story. He would have gone, no way, man, I'm not letting you leave. Let's get. But Dave was so fucked up at the time. There was nothing he could do. He was just out of it. The Facebook page Bring Alan Wilder Back to Depeche Mode, which is run by a guy who's become a good mate of mine now called Ash Nero, and he actually runs a lot of the articles on that page. Check it out. They're worth checking out. And he has posted some very interesting stuff there. This site is very much geared towards bringing Alan Wilder back to Depeche Mode, and it has some very good, Ash does post some very, very good articles on there, so I'd recommend you guys to go and look at that. And I'm actually going to just pull up one of them now, and I'm just paraphrasing one of the articles he put up. It's something along the lines where Dave talks about how Martin is not very good at giving compliments out, and I think what I gathered from reading that site, that article, was I think all Alan ever wanted was a bit of recognition and a thank you. You know, as I said in my last video, I don't think Martin's that kind of guy. He's not a nasty guy. I just don't think, as I said, I don't think he can express himself really well verbally. Sometimes I think he's just a very introspective, introverted, shy kind of guy who expresses himself through his songs, his brilliant songs. To him, I don't sort of see him going, oh no, Alan, no, you're wrong, mate. No, you're wrong. Let's try. I don't think he's like that. He's probably like, oh, okay. And maybe he doesn't speak his true feelings. I don't know, and I can't speak for Martin. Fletch would probably have just been like, oh, I don't know, what does Martin want? Yeah, whatever. I don't think Fletch would have really fought to keep him on, based on the conflicts they had towards the end. And of course, these are just my opinions and based on what I've read and what I've heard. But as I say, I do feel that if Dave was in a better mental place at that time, he would have fought tooth and nail to keep Alan on board, and you know, things could have been very different. But que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. One of the comments asked me was, what do I suggest? And at the end of the day, guys, I'm sometimes flattered if some of you think, what do I suggest? It's at the end of the day, I'm just giving an opinion. I'm just a guy. So I'll tell you what, if I was to give Alan advice, and let me just for the record say, don't take this out of context. Can I just say, who the hell am I to give Alan for advice? But let's imagine if I was friends with Alan Wilder and we were sitting in a bar one day, somehow we became friends, and we were talking about this. I would say to Alan, do what you want to do. I'm not saying go back to Depeche Mode. But what I am saying is, Alan, why don't you at least get back into music? Because I believe Alan has completely refrained from doing music, and there's articles and hearsay and gossip, but that he had financial problems in it and he had to sell all his equipment and stuff. And I don't want to get into that. That's very personal to Alan. There is footage I saw many years ago. It was on YouTube. It was something to do with Recoil, and I remember Alan sort of saying, "Hi, I'm Alan Wilder from Recoil," and he played a snippet from a new Recoil album, and he said something along the lines of, "Well, that's all I'm going to play you. If you want to hear the rest, you'll have to buy the record." And he said that in a kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny kind of way. But what I got from that was, screw you guys who are going to download this for free. You can buy the fucking record. That's what I got from him from that. And as I say, check out the Facebook page, which is Alan Wilder Back to Depeche Mode. It does have great resources. And one of the resources I read there as well was an interview with Alan many years ago, where I think he just became so disillusioned with the music industry. And as I spoke on a previous video, you know, he's now got a family. It's like, why should he lock himself away in a studio for 6 months and go through all the pain and sweat and tears and, you know, to produce a great album, only to put it out and then everyone just rips it off for free, you know, because people don't, as we talk, because of the way music is consumed these days, it's very difficult to sell and to make a living, and that's a completely different subject. But yeah, so my suggestion to Alan would be, get back into music, and why don't you start a Patreon campaign? Now, Patreon, or like a subscription campaign, and Patreon is something which I personally was reactionary to many years ago, but you know, with my channel really gaining traction now, and it's something I'm looking into in the future to, you know, build this channel and, you know, in an attempt to give you guys the best quality content I can. But coming back to Alan, I think that would be a good idea. Guys, you know, if Alan said, I'm rebooting, you know, I'm starting from scratch, I'm rebuilding, you know, I'm getting back into music, I'm relaunching Recoil, I'm starting a subscription, guys, it's going to cost you, I don't know, a few dollars a month. Guys, I would pay that subscription fee. And I'm thinking of Gary Newman when he did his last album, Savage. He did a Patreon campaign, and he did this behind the scenes thing where you once you'd paid money to and he had different packages. You could pay X amount, and the more you paid, the more you got. Obviously, I don't want to get into it. But he also had, for paid members, you had access to him behind the scenes working in the studio. Personally, I wouldn't want people to watch me if I was working in the studio. I just think it's a very personal thing. But, you know, a lot of people are interested in that kind of thing. But I think if Alan Wilder took that route where he started a Patreon campaign and he got people to pay subscription and to effectively fund what he's doing. Because, guys, I would do it, and I'm sure a lot of you would do it as well. And there's no shame in doing it, because, as I say, Gary Newman did that with his last album, and you know, and as a result, you know, the resources he got from that, he was able to produce one of the best albums he ever did. He was able to go on tour and do, you know, he had the resources thanks to the Patreon campaign. And I'm not endorsing Patreon or anything. I'm not affiliated with it or anything. I'm just making a suggestion to say, if Alan was to come back and start some kind of subscription thing where, you know, subscribers pay him money every month, if that helped fund him to get back on the road, because I just think the industry is missing out by not having someone of that talent really releasing music. Alan Wilder needs to be producing music, not necessarily go on tour, not necessarily join Depeche Mode. I mean, you know, he probably doesn't want to do that. He's spoken apparently in interviews how he didn't want to be a pop star into his 40s, so that's fine. But in an ideal world, Alan could produce the next Depeche Mode album, and I really strongly feel he could start a Patreon campaign or something similar, a subscription site or something where fans, you know, paid a monthly subscription or whatever, and he'd probably have at least as many fans as Gary Newman, probably more. I think this is quite a good idea, guys. But anyway, Alan, if you're listening, start the Patreon campaign and I'll give you a few quid every month, mate. Seriously, man, jeez. The music world needs you. And also, if you're a... Look, guys, I'm not being an arsehole by giving advice here. I'm just talking to you guys here. Remember, we're just two friends in a room talking. And to the people in the music, in the film industry, you know, look no further than someone like Alan Wilder to do your music for your films. I mean, oh my God, jeez. I know Trent from 9 Inch Nails has got a lot of work now doing music for movies and stuff. And as one of you said to me on the comments, like, if Trent can do it, then surely Alan can do it. Guys, as always, comments below, subscribe. Let me know what you want me to speak about, elaborate. As I say, I don't think we're done with the subject of Alan Wilder. The next one I want to do about Alan Wilder will be about the songs that he contributed to Depeche Mode. So watch out for that video. Right, guys, so I'm very happy I was able to shoot this quick bonus video. As always, please subscribe, comments below, let me know what you want me to talk about and elaborate on, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.